Up next, as the Delta variant ramps up, North Dakota health experts answer questions related to back-to-school vaccines. Plus, one leading infectious disease expert is giving a warning to everyone who has not yet been vaccinated. And the civil trial continues against the Hotel Donaldson, with one person hurt in the incident taking the stand. Valley News Live starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening. Back to school vaccines. That's the topic North Dakota health experts tackled today as the COVID-19 variant continues to ramp up in the state. Valley News Team's JC Dodd joins us in the studio with the story. JC?
Well, Nashay, it's no question most people want to see kids back in the classroom for the upcoming school year. But with questions surrounding masks and vaccines, doctors from Sanford and the North Dakota Department of Health addressed the many concerns parents might have. Dr. Tracy Newman says in recent weeks, kids have had a higher rate of COVID-19 infections, and this trend is expected to continue into the fall. She says nationwide there have been 400 pediatric COVID-related deaths. Dr. Newman also addressed that the Delta variant, which she says is 200% more contagious than previous strains, saying one infected person could spread it to at least 6 other people, making schools a high-risk environment.
Vaccination is our #1 recommended tool. That is the best thing to keep your child safe during this pandemic. I do think the benefits outweigh the risks of returning to school, so I encourage kids to return to school.
She added kids are at risk for severe illness or long-term health issues. And COVID-19 is now one of the top 10 causes for death in children in the U.S. When considering the COVID-19 vaccination for your children, Dr. Newman suggests taking all of your questions and concerns to your family doctor. Nashay?
Thank you so much, JC. Clinical trials are underway for children 6 months to 11 years old, but it could take several weeks before that age group could receive a COVID-19 vaccine. And today, the CDC say people who are unvaccinated are twice as likely to be reinfected with COVID-19 as vaccinated individuals. The news comes as concern over the spread of the Delta variant increases and large events are taking place. An infectious disease expert says this is not the time to let our guard down.
Right now, we're on a journey.
Dr. Michael Osterholm, the leading infectious disease expert at the U of M, says the next few weeks will be telling in how Minnesota fares with COVID cases and the highly contagious Delta variant.
But we have more than adequate people here who are not yet protected that we could really see a major uptick in cases.
And he believes the virus will catch up with people who are unvaccinated.
If you think you haven't been infected yet and therefore you're not going to get infected, ultimately this virus will find you.
Osterholm says we're going to be counting on the vaccine during this surge, and it's time to mask up in groups of people.
This is not about yes or no masking. This is about what kind of masking to use to protect yourself.
He recommends using an N95, saying it offers the best protection.
A year ago, we said don't use them because we needed them for healthcare workers. Today, we have an abundant supply in this country that can meet the needs of healthcare, of industrial purposes, as well as citizens.
And he knows this comes at a time we're all tired.
It's as hard and frustrating for those of us that deal with it. We too are mentally and physically exhausted from this virus, but that doesn't give us reason to let our guard down.
The Minnesota Department of Health says if you want to be part of a large event, make sure you're fully vaccinated. And if you can't be socially distant, it's a good idea to wear a mask, even if you're outside.
MDH says it will continue to evaluate the spread and then put out guidance for events like the state fair so people can make the best choice for themselves. And meanwhile, the drought in Minnesota has been compared by farmers to the drought of 1988. One farmer says even if consistent rain came now, it may not be enough to help their corn and soybean yields. Sunderman says this year's plants will soak up any rain that does come, potentially leaving behind dry fields and concern drought issues going into next year. Some farmers say they will need to harvest earlier before the crops get weak.
I would say this year we're probably on track for a harvest start 2 to 3 weeks earlier than normal. I think this particular field we may be harvesting in August, which is generally not a good sign for yield. I think we've suffered some damage here.
Harvest for some soybean fields typically would start sometime around the middle of September. Sunderman says a telltale sign of drought damages is the soybeans pods. Most only have 2 beans, but during an ideal growing year, they should have 3 to 4 beans inside. All right, now let's send it over to Hutch, who is tracking some possible severe storms heading our way. Hutch.
Thanks, Ms. Shea. Good evening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed your Olympic coverage here on NBC. We do still have some smoke across the valley. A look at Hankinson and the Dakota Magic Casino. Let's talk right away about that first alert weather day on Saturday. Most of us are not going to have severe weather, but storms that do form, particularly in the southern valley, along and south of I-94 in North Dakota, along and south of Highway 10 in Minnesota. Where you see the yellow area, that's where the best chance of the severe weather will be. That means damaging hail and straight line winds, the main threat. We could see an isolated tornado. We do have some shower and thunderstorm activity working its way through south central parts of South Dakota tonight. That's severe. And by morning, it could be pushing across the I-29 corridor of South Dakota. We'll give you more information on that, but taking a look at those smoke levels right now. We have AQI values, air quality index values that have dropped a little bit in Lakes Country. That's good news, but it is still unhealthy in central Minnesota. The smoke forecast is looking promising. A little bit of relief, lower numbers for the time being through the weekend, but as we go into Sunday, we'll start to see a chance of that returning. Air quality alert for northwest Minnesota does continue. Light winds having trouble getting that smoke out of here. We'll have hour-by-hour details on your forecast for our chance of showers and thunderstorms here in just a couple of minutes.
Nice to see you. Thanks, Hutch. All right, U.S. Olympian and former Bison Peyton Otterdahl returned tonight to Fargo after placing 10th in the men's shot put finals. He was greeted by fans at Hector International Airport with cheers and support after Otterdahl became the first former Bison to advance to the finals of an Olympic event.
You know, the experience of a lifetime. I didn't compete quite the way I wanted to, but still to come away 10th in the world, get all this experience under my belt, and most importantly, just see truly how much support I have at home and abroad everywhere. It makes me feel so happy and loved.
Otterdahl is the 4th ever Bison to compete in the Summer Olympics and plans to continue to represent the Bison and Team USA at the next Summer Games in Paris 2024. And the civil trial against the Hotel Donaldson in downtown Fargo continued today as Christopher Sang, a man who was severely injured in the May 2017 incident, took the stand. Sang described his relationship with Jamie Grant, the man who died after the incident, as a lifelong friend. Sang suffered brain injuries that cost him his sense of taste and smell. He recalled what police officers told him when he woke up in the hospital with no memory of the events.
I just remember them saying that they were apologetic in demeanor, I guess, and they said that we were ambushed. They kept using that term over and over, and I still wasn't able to kind of piece together what they were talking about, and they kind of explained everything to me.
It took 11 months for Sang to get back to work, and the financial damages he suffered were also discussed today. The prosecution has 2 more witnesses to call to testify as court resumes Monday morning. And outrage tonight from the family and lawyer of the pawn shop worker who's now charged for shooting at an armed robbery suspect's getaway car. 56-year-old Kyle Ramsey is charged with a misdemeanor count of reckless endangerment for the several shots fired. However, Ramsey has stated since day one he only shot 22-year-old Hunter Havisto's car to make it easier for police to identify and never tried to hurt him.
The fact that we have to retain a lawyer not to prove my dad's innocence but to keep his innocence is beyond me.
Ramsey's daughter says she wants to thank the community for the overwhelming support and is now urging the public to call the state's attorney's office to demand they drop the charges against her dad. If convicted, Ramsey could face up to 360 days in jail and could also lose his right to carry and conceal a firearm. And a vehicle was deemed a total loss after it caught fire earlier today. The Polk County Sheriff's Office responded to the report of the fire. When they arrived, they found the vehicle engulfed in flames. The 77-year-old owner of the vehicle was not hurt in the fire. Deputies say the cause of the fire appears to be a mechanical issue. A GoFundMe page has raised more than $45,000 for a North Dakota teen who is fighting for his life. Andrew Hoos was involved in a serious crash east of Northwood on August 5th. He is on life support and unresponsive, but his family tells us they have been able to see him and talk to him. If you would like to donate to help Hoos and his family, you can find the link on our website. Still ahead tonight, health experts are ramping up their encouragement for pregnant women to get vaccinated.
First Alert Weather Day on Saturday. We'll have hour-by-hour details on the track and location of the storms today. Wow, this is not a tornado, but it's one of those dust devils forming. Lisa, thanks for sharing your video. We'll have your hour-by-hour forecast coming up. Join us. Weather is next.